guys, and we are live, and you'll be looking at me saying, Lois, why are you there? You said you're going to be off for 2-3 weeks. Well, I am, but I'm just waiting for our Nicholas to appear in, and then I shall be gone. How is John Wayne?
Not too bad. It's a bit busy in the pantry at Spookanori Castle. We've had the plumber come in and he's wrapping foil over everything, so it's a bit loopy here at the moment.
I can actually imagine how loopy it'll be. There's 2 people in the chat. If you could say hello. Hey Noreen, how you doing? Hey Noreen. So tonight, guys, it was been suggestion we'll do the do's and don'ts on a paranormal investigation. That'll be an interesting topic. The do's and the don'ts on an investigation. Now, I'm going to start it, right.
Okay.
The thing that grinds my gears, right, and this is one of my big don'ts. See, when someone's doing an EVP and there's somebody who's rustling, or they come in and they start talking over the top of you while you're doing your EVP. I don't know about anyone else, but that drives me berserk. It really, really does. Because I think if you, right, fair enough, it's spirit, right? Just because you can't see that spirit or that ghost doesn't mean that gives somebody the right to talk over the top of you, or they start rustling and things like that. That drives me berserk. And I can remember one time when I was first with the first team that I was with, and we had out, I think it was French journalists that were travelling. No, it was filmmakers. They were amateur filmmakers. That's what it was. And they were filming this place with us, and my God, I was in the middle of I was doing an EVP, and I was having this one-to-one with the spirit, and I was on top form, and the next thing you know, they burst in the door and they start talking, and I'm like, oh my God, you could see my face. I was so agitated. And what was funny about this was the guy who owns the team, he did all the cuts and edits. Well, he forgot to edit out my face so you could see me growling. Because I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? Noreen says it's annoying as a watcher too when people do that, as you can't hear properly. I can only imagine. Hey, Mr. Fields, looking forward to seeing you in this month. We've got you this month. And as Noreen says, you miss possible evidence.
Yeah. It's the problem. The problem is when you go out, if your event is organised properly, everybody knows where they need to be at what time, and they know how long they've got. And I have it on sort of everything that we have, that we say we're going to start at 8:30. You've got until 10 o'clock in that location.
Yeah.
That team goes there, that team goes there, that team goes there. You do not leave that area and then go into another area. This is the area you've got until that time. That way it stops other people from walking in on other teams while they're investigating.
Yeah.
But then it comes down also to, while you're in there investigating in your area, that the instructions are made clear to everybody within that group that you're going to do an EVP session, you need to keep quiet. And the amount of times where, everybody's really quiet, someone started up the voice recorder, we've called out, and all of a sudden you hear someone go, "Oh, I'm dying for a cup of tea." And you're like, no problem. What are you doing? Or like you say, somebody else walks in and starts talking over you doing an
Yeah.
EVP.
Yeah.
And you just like, you want to just walk up to them and punch them in the face and then knock them out the door, you know. It's going to happen. But if everybody knows where they need to be and when they
Yeah.
need to be, it should never be an issue. But unfortunately, it's going to happen.
Oh God, aye. Oh God, aye. I mean, it's not even just that. You think to yourself, you know, you're doing an EVP, people would be excited to hear you doing one so that they could hear for something. And they're just going, natter. See if you want a natter, go and have a natter outside until
Yeah.
the EVP session's like done. Don't just keep nattering in the background. I've heard it like umpteen times. Or the other classic one is when you're so dead silent and it's so peaceful, and then somebody starts sneezing and it's like just stop. I know you can't help
It's,
sneezing, but go outside.
if it's something like that, it's annoying, but it's funny at the same time.
Oh
You know, you walk into a place and someone's, and the worst time, summer is the worst time for it because of obviously hay
yeah.
fever. So you're in the location, everybody's all nice and quiet, and then all of a sudden someone starts sneezing. You're like, you know, if you're going to keep sneezing, you're going to need to go outside for a bit. And as Jacqueline says, stomach's rumbling. You're nice and
Oh
quiet. And
God.
I will admit, my stomach is the worst. I'm sure that somewhere along the line, when I had an operation, I had 3 stomachs put in my guts because my stomach rumbles like crazy, especially if I haven't eaten. And you're standing there, you're nice and quiet. Someone's just called out. You're waiting for a reply, and then someone's stomach goes.
Yeah.
And you're like, really?
Oh God, yeah.
But
Nick will be in a few minutes.
I think for me, and I'm going by personal experience, this was quite a hilarious thing to have happen. And my whole team were in hysterics. And we were out at Dunwich in Suffolk, on the Suffolk coast. Now, Dunwich dates back to 1500s, and in the 1700s, it was classed as the biggest port in Europe. And after a series of storms, the entire town was washed into the sea. And all that was left was a church and one street and a leper hospital. And we were in the leper hospital, and we'd found a grave of somebody. There wasn't a name on it. It was just had rest in peace and a few other little words, but there was no physical name on it. And we were standing there, and we got an Alice box running, and we were asking, you know, are you male? Are you female? And we'd finally got it down to a little girl by the name of Charlotte. And as we're asking out, I broke wind. And it was a quiet, in all fairness, it was a quiet one. Only we know the saying about silent but violent.
Violent, yeah.
Well, earlier that evening, we had been to the local pub. I think it was called the Swan, and it's on that one street. And I'd eaten a wild boar burger with salad and chips. Now, I don't know whether it was the wild boar burger or the salad, because salad affects me just the same way as protein does. But I broke wind, and all of a sudden you hear Peter Ling turn around and say, "Can anybody smell sulphur?"
How you doing?
Hey, Joe. Can anybody smell sulphur? And I openly admit that I straight away said, "I'm sorry, that was me." And Peter went, "Oh, Wayne, that stinks." Everybody got a whiff of it, and that was me. I was dying. I was rolling about the floor in hysterics, and everybody was just creasing up. And but what it then did And this is why I'm a good believer in positive energy helps spirit to come through a bit more. And that was because shortly after that, we decided to leave. But as we turned around, we could see the silhouette of someone standing at a gravestone just outside the gates to this leper chapel. So we chased after it. We literally walked towards it and it ran off. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe, what's happening?
Look what we're following them. I hate following them damn things. I'm always afraid the cars are going to come off the car carrier.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well, that's all right. Keep your distance. You won't get hit by one.
Aye, please do. Come back to safe.
I'm in Michigan now.
Oh, wow. How are you enjoying your trip?
I'm about an hour and a half away from my destination.
Oh, wow, honey. I'm glad. Have a good time.
So I just thought I'd pop in and say hi.
Oh, that was nice. Always happy to see your face.
So I'm having a really good time. We stopped in Indiana, the visitor center, took pictures there. We did the same thing when we crossed over into Michigan. I've been doing a couple of live feeds from the road.
I have seen it. I loved your Egyptian one. You need to tell me about that road.
Yeah. When I get back, I'll have plenty of stories to tell.
Can't wait, honey. Looking forward to it.
So have a nice weekend, because I'm going to be in Michigan. I won't be home now until tomorrow.
You have a good time, Joe. Much love.
Yeah, so we're gonna go take pictures of Eloise. We didn't get to. They're short staffed, so we don't get to see inside of Eloise. But we're gonna take pictures because we're gonna be close.
Awesome, can't wait.
So
some man.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, sweet. Bye, babe. I'll quickly head into the comments. Gary Field says, where are we going? Oh, Gary, where would you like to go? He says, in a hot tub, diary in the kitchen. I was thinking somewhere better than that, Gary. Contamination, nothing worse. This is true. Noreen says, needs a bit of respect and awareness too. Hi, Nigel. Hi, Chantel. Hi, Jacqueline. And Gary Field says, used on MH lol. Hey Andy, how's it going? Jacqueline says, my stomach doesn't rumble unless I have to be quiet. My stomach once did the sound of footsteps. People were gutted when I debunked his sounds. Hey Sarah Louise, Jacqueline's laughing. Sarah Louise says, that was some fart rain, it raised the dead. Hey Tom, how you doing?
But the thing was, after everybody had calmed down, we'd seen this figure standing at the gravestone, and we chased after it. Now, it ran off round one way of the church. So I chased after it one side, and then two of the other team chased it round the other side so that we'd meet in the middle. But when we got round there was no one there.
Oh, wow.
So we were like, okay, where's this person gone? Just thought, right, okay. Well, we'd finished, so we started to head back towards the beach. Yeah. And as we got walking along the road, we heard small footsteps. We heard coming up behind us. And we turned around, the torches on, we turned around really quick. There's no one there. And we're like, what the hell was that? And then when we shone the torch down on the floor, we saw wet footprints walking right the way up behind us. And then they stopped. They didn't come past us at all. And we said, Charlotte, is that you? And then we heard movement in the bushes. And we're like, okay, so that must have been Charlotte. And Ellen was the one that was picking up on her. So it had a knock-on effect for something so silly to happen. Like me breaking wind made so much positive energy that little Charlotte was able to do something to sort of make us go, wow, you know, she's just come towards us.
Aye. That would. Do you know what? You're going into something that I think should be in a do list when it comes to paranormal investigating. And I think before you even think about going in an investigation, before you even cross the threshold, you've got to make sure that the team work, that the team bond, and they have a
Yeah.
good energy. Because if you have shite energy, you're going to get nothing. And I'm a great, like
Yeah,
you,
and
I'm a great believer in, because one of the I've seen good reports, and I've been in some investigations. We've had some laugh prior in the results we've got, but I've also seen it was conflict between two people in a team, and you could just feel the tension. And that night was pretty poor. It was pretty ass poor.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you've got the right team, and I've seen, or I've gone out with teams that have had team members with them that they haven't gelled with, you know, that they've sort of
Yeah.
put an advert up saying, if you'd like to join this team, and they haven't known each other. Now,
Yeah.
my team was Spookanary Events. It's been in association for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that the team that I have is a team that works together and gels together.
Yeah.
And the team I've got is the same team that we have together in Truth Beyond Paranormal.
Yeah.
And we've been going for 4 years. And obviously when we first started Truth Beyond Paranormal, we had 15 team members, way over the top. And we slowly whittled it down to about 10, then down to 8, and then down to 6. And that's now how we've kept it, because we feel that for the filming, we don't need any more than 6 people. If we have more than 6, it's going to be ruined, because we can do 2 teams of 3 and go in 2 different directions. If you have too many team members, you've got people going all over the place. And our very first episode with 15 team members, we had 3 people in one place, 6 people in another place, 2 people in another place, and people were just all over the shop. And it ended up that half the people didn't take any film footage.
Yeah.
They took no film footage. They did no electronic voice phenomena. So they were just there for the fun of it, and they didn't do any work there whatsoever. So we said, well, fine. If you're not going to do that on the investigation, then we don't need you in the team.
Yeah.
And eventually we got down to the 6 of us, and we all know each other. We're all really good friends with each other. One of my team members, Mick, I've known since high school. Sam and Marcus I met first on Most Haunted Experience events. So I'd known them for such a long time anyway, that obviously we all gelled really well. And that's how you need it. And now with Spookanary Events, I've got the same people in my team for my company, for my events, as what I do with Truth Beyond Paranormal. So I know that my team are going to work. But you look at other teams, and some teams have said, we need 2 team members, and they've just put an advert out. They've done an interview with these people and gone, right, we're going to do an event at such and such a place. And then when they've got to that event and they've worked it, they've sat there and gone, well, that person really didn't do much. He didn't really know much. Yeah. He didn't guide the people. He didn't talk to anybody. So we can't have them. If they don't gel, you've got to be able to gel straight away. Otherwise, you haven't got anything there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've made sure that before I do events, my team have gelled, and we're all like family. So it works.
The other thing is that I've found, and this is just one in a whole, is I've came from a background where I've never watched ghost shows, right? I just came into it with, I've got an interest and I want to explore it. I have seen people who just want to do this because they've watched the ghost shows and they think this is how it all happens. they come out and then they're sorely disappointed because they're like, well, why is this not happening? This is just rubbish. This is just this is not what happens in the shows. And it's like, at the end of the day, what you see in shows, they've got to get viewers, right? They've got to make stuff and fake stuff happen, right? At the end of the day, I would love for ghost shows to follow the suit of, at the end of the day, give the people like what to see. At the end of the day, if there's like a live investigation, see if you don't get nothing, it's not the end of the world. It just didn't happen that night. But that's not to say that if you don't go back the second, the third, or the fourth, or the fifth time, that's always going to happen. You will get something.
I think that's why when we go out and film, we each year we will go back to somewhere that we went to originally.
Yeah.
In the first series, so this year we're going back to an old RAF base that was our very first filming.
Yeah.
So we're going to be going back there, but obviously we're going back with the better team. We've got newer equipment, and we know exactly where we can and cannot go, and we know exactly what places are the most active. So things like the officers' mess, we would go back in there because that was the most active place we had that evening. But again, if we've got reception, we will do a live feed at the same time that we're filming for the show. So if anybody watches an episode and we're in, say, for instance, the administration building and all hell breaks loose, then they can look at the live feed and skip forward to the bit where we go into the administration building, and they can watch that entire section. And it could be 1 or 2 hours worth of footage there.
Yeah.
And it works that way because if we don't get nothing, well, we've proved via our live feed that we've spent 6 hours there and all we got was a couple of knocks and bangs, or we had a whistle. And the build up to it, you had 2 hours where nothing much happened. Then all broke loose for about 45 minutes, and then it went dead quiet again afterwards.
Yep.
But that's the nature of it. You're not going to get activity every time. We could go back the next time and find no activity, or it could be even worse than the first time we were there. You don't know.
Oh God, you just really don't know. Go into the comments. Hey Vaughn, how you doing, love? My Nick, not your Nick Baldy, my Nick is due on soon. So
he's on his way.
You keep your eyes off my Nick. She one saying hi. Nobody's saying too many people, much distraction and noise contamination. Definitely. We used to have 22, but we canned all the money who's couldn't agree on the colour of cap. Now our Scottish team have 4 men strength by strength. Definitely. I see that you were in the paper. Vaughn, that's keeping it real though, even if you get nothing at all. That is so true. And you want to show people that even if you get nothing, it's not a wasted night because you're in a building of history as well. That's why I really, really respect Rigger, because Rigger, even when he gets nothing, when he does all his evidence on a podcast so that people can hear, hear his EVPs. Well, what did you hear? Because if Rigger didn't hear anything and say I heard, right, so he did an EVP, he plays the EVP, I pick up and somebody saying help me, but Rigger didn't pick it up in the investigation. I think it's a good way of doing your evidence as well. I think well, this is me personally, right? But my personal opinion is, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I do this, right? Is when I'm doing an EVP, I introduce myself. I've got laughed at this, by the way, folks. But I'll say, hi, my name is Lois. I'm a paranormal investigator. Can you tell me what your name is, please? And people laugh at me when I do that. And I'm like, but it's only, like, say I didn't know you, then it's not like I'm just going to come in and not introduce myself. I would find that quite ignorant.
Fair.
But I think that's just me. Maybe I'm just conscious away, but I think it's dead nice to introduce yourself to spirit. And I've
Well, it
had
is,
good
because it's no
reaction.
different. It's no different to, or the way I see it, and Noreen's right, it does show respect. But also, if you were to walk into a bar on your own,
Mm-hmm.
walk into a bar or a pub on your own, and you walk in there, you order your drink, and you sit there. And you sit there, you're like Billy No Mates. You're not talking to anybody, and no one's talking to you. Then after, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, you think, do you know what? That person over there's looking a bit lonely. I'll go and have a chat with them. And you go over and
Yeah.
introduce themselves. You end up talking to each other, and then you end up, by the end of the evening, you've walked out. You're good friends. You're friends with each other on Facebook, and you're arranging to meet up the following week. And it's no different between the living and the dead. If you are going to go out ghost hunting, or I hate that term, paranormal investigating, and you are looking for spirit, it only makes sense to introduce yourself, because that's what you would do in real life if you
Yeah.
walked into somewhere with the intention of meeting somebody. And
God, aye.
like Noreen says, it's respect.
It
You wouldn't
does.
just walk in and go, "Come on, ghost, come out, you silly sods." You don't do it. You've got to show
No.
respect, because if you give them respect, they'll give you respect. That's the same as the living.
Oh God, aye. I mean, I've had good responses when I've introduced myself. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, I've had my occasional fuck you or fuck off. Okay, what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I've had that thrown at me, but I've had
Yeah.
good responses when I've introduced myself. And even when I'm asking their name, okay, I maybe no pick up their name, but I do get a response. And I think it's only nice that you do that, because at the end of the day, you're going into their place or their home. It doesn't matter if they work there, if they live there, or whatever. Whoever you're interacting with, at the end of the day, it's their place. You've got to be respectful.
Yeah.
It's like me coming into your house and just make myself at home, flinging myself on the sofa, like no even bothering.
But I mean, I've been told to f off. I was with another investigator in Landguard Fort in Suffolk, and we were in the guard room. And in the guard room, just down a little corridor, there's a prison cell.
Yeah.
And we had a directional REM pod going off, and it was going off at random, and it was going around in circles. And we weren't really getting much result. It was just that. And
Yeah.
the guy I was with, Mark, he turned around to me and he says, "Well, why don't you use your rank and call out?"
Yep.
So I'm like, never thought of that. So I turned around and said, "It's Corporal Seaton, K842035. Will the prisoner please come forward?" And all of a sudden, the EVP just went, "Fuck off." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay, fair enough. If you want me to fuck off, I will fuck off." And I walked out. And as soon as I walked out, it went flat.
Yeah.
Just went flat as a pancake. And then Mark followed me out and he said, "Man," he said, "Do you know what? The whole atmosphere changed. After that said that, and you walked out, the atmosphere changed."
That's
And I'm like,
amazing.
"Okay." But it was because I was sort of pulling rank and
Yeah.
telling the prisoner that was there to come forward for inspection. And he didn't like it. So he told me to go away. I'm like, "Okay."
Do you know what? I've had spirit where, back in the day, right? Everybody knows back in the day a woman was seen and not heard, right? And there's
Yeah.
a lot of spirits out there who refuse point blank to speak to a woman, but as soon as they hear a guy's voice, they'll start interacting, and I find that funny because it's
It-
like, no funny as in funny, haha, but funny as in,
Yeah, weird.
you know, that's, it's, but
Yeah.
then I think to myself, right, this is how my brain works, but I think it is like a parallel universe, right? So we're in the year of 2024, right? They'll still be in the year of, I don't know, I'm going to throw a year out my mind, 1912, right? So you could be talking to somebody in 1912, right? Now in 2024, women have rights, women have this, that, and the next thing, right? Back in 1912, they didn't even have anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was that, you know, it was women were saying and not heard. So you've got to be pretty open minded when you go into situations like this, that you don't know what year they're from. They could be from any year, right? I'll stop my yakking because here's Boyle. I'll say this one last. I'll say this
What's
one
up,
last
guys?
piece, and then I'll quickly run through the comments, and then I'll leave you boys to it.
I was
But
going to say,
you've
I've
got-
just been demoted because I've got a blue box in my chin now. Look,
See,
I'm
you're
still
being
almost there.
promoted. You're promoted. So I'll leave you on this thought, guys. Be open-minded when you're going into these places, and remember, at the end of the day, you're going to be in year 2024. You don't know what either their faith. You don't know
Yeah.
what their beliefs are. You don't know what they're thinking or things like that. If that, see that baldy bastard.
Yeah, Scott's honoured that Nick's here. He ain't bothered about us being here.
Aye, he's an
We
arsehole.
know when we're not wanted.
Yep. Right, I'm going to quickly run through the comments, Nick, so that you're no left wondering where we are. Vaughn says
Sure.
that's keep it real, even though if you get nothing at all, even if we give it a history, it doesn't mean something from that history will come through. Exactly. Shows respect, definitely. Noreen, why laugh? Because you would introduce yourself to the living. Exactly, Vaughn. Hi, Kelly. Baldy, whenever you go to Loudon, we and the juicer sells its house spirit gets to know and remember you. I feel sorry for the spirits that have got to remember you. I'm sure there's no therapy in their stage. Nori says it shows your respectful intentions and encourage a hesitant spirit to come forward. And then I'll leave you with Baldy. Right, guys, I will catch up with you very, very soon. Nick, it's always a pleasure, never a chore. Wayne, it's always your pleasure. Wayne, give him a slap. Give him a slap. You know? Right, guys, you are in the best possible hands, and I will see you all soon. Nick, I'll catch up with you later on, my love, and I'll give you a call, okay?
Sounds like a good plan, Lois.
Bye, William. Bye, Wayne. Bye, everyone. Much
See you
love.
later.
Bye. Oh.
So yeah.
So where were you guys? Yeah, where were you guys leading off from?
Right. Well, basically, we were talking about the do's and don'ts, and most of the don'ts were not to break wind, burp, sneeze, fart, any of those silly things that would happen by accident. You know, and Jacqueline comes out with the best one, which for me is a regular occurrence for me. When it's really quiet, my stomach starts rumbling. You know, you've got 6 people in a room and everything's gone nice and quiet. You've just called out to spirit to come forward. Can you make a noise? And then all of a sudden you hear everybody starts looking at each other as if to say, "Who the hell was that?" And I'm standing there, bright red face, very sheepish. I'm sorry, that was my stomach.
Oh my God.
And I did say the best one was after eating a wild boar burger and breaking wind, and stinking everybody out. That was quite amusing. But as a result of that increased the positive energy, and we had a little girl called Charlotte follow us up the road from where we were. she'd followed us up the road and left wet footprints all the way up to behind where we were standing. So again, positive energy tends to get better results.
Yeah.
And I think mixing that against negative energy is probably the worst thing to do, because if you don't go in and, like we've just recently just come to, is respect for spirit, the same sort of respect for spirit as you would have with the living. If you're going to be nasty to spirit will do one or two things, and that's do nothing or do something to make you regret being disrespectful.
Oh, absolutely.
So it struck me as quite amusing when you have those sort of situations. But you know, it's one of those things. You know, you can't just go into a place and expect everything to start happening or everything to kick off. You can go to places. I mean, I'd probably say I must have at least totaled over 100 hours where I've gone to somewhere and not got anything.
I could definitely say the same too. I mean, it's like, I mean, yeah, obviously, like when I first got started doing investigations at a young age, obviously I was just a kid then. I was thinking at that time that things were going to start immediately, but as time went on, I eventually started learning that, you know, it's literally a waiting game that you have to go through. And I mean, that's just the bottom line. There's a lot of waiting involved. There's a guy I remember hearing about from one of my most recent investigations that I was on. I was on this last year. It was actually at a restaurant and bar that had never been investigated before. So we were the very first paranormal team to go to this place. Ironically enough, it was called the Bad Attitude Bar and Grill, which was kind of about half hour outside of Chicago, I think. And the owner of that place had told me a story that one time she had a friend of hers who she told them about, you know, that her restaurant bar was haunted. And obviously he didn't believe in any of that kind of stuff. In fact, he even went as far as like claiming that not only did he not believe in it, but he actually was taunting whatever that was haunting this restaurant.
Yeah.
You can already tell this. I'm sure you're thinking this is a bad idea already of what this guy is doing. Well, he actually made it worse. He actually made it worse for himself, because he stood up on a bar table and like put his arms out, almost like saying, hey, if you want to do something, I'm right here. Come on now, do something, or making all these taunts. And then all of a sudden, he really regretted what happened next. He got pushed by an unseen force and literally fell right onto the ground. Surprisingly, he was not seriously injured. I mean, that should have really, he's lucky he didn't get like a broken arm or leg.
Yeah.
But after he got back, I mean, he was still hurt, but after when he got back up, he's like, well, I believe you now.
Asked for it. And this is where there comes a difference of opinion. When you get events teams, you go out on an event with a team and they stand there and they go, right, we've just done the health and safety. We're now going to do a spell of protection. Anybody that wants the spell of protection, stay here. We'll do the spell and then we'll crack on with the investigation. Anybody that doesn't, if you'd please go through to that area there and we'll join you in a minute. Every event I have been on, when they've said that, I'm like, no, thanks. I'd rather not. But
right.
It's because I know I'm going to be safe because I have a spirit attached to me. So if I need protection, I know that my spirit's going to be there to help. So I know I'm safe. But they look at me as if say, oh my God, you've grown a second itch, you know. Well, you're crazy, you know. And they all looked at me. And one particular event, there was about 40 people there. And they all looked at me as if say, you're nuts. I was the only person that walked through the gate into the location while they had the spell of protection. And then it was explained to them the reason why I don't have the spell of protection. And then half the people all of a sudden realised who I was.
Yeah.
And they all started getting excited. And as soon as they came through the gate, they come straight to me and they go, wait, I want to be in your group. I went, it's nothing to do with me. I said, you need to speak to the organisers. But soon as the organisers realised that everybody was latching onto me, we all ended up going round together. The whole night was a complete waste of time. And I ended up making my excuses and leaving 2 hours early because it was a complete shit show, basically.
Right.
I mean, 40 people in an underground ammunition storage, all standing there with cat balls. They'd all got their cat balls with them, most of them in their hands still, and then couldn't understand why they started flashing at random. Like, really?
Yeah.
You've got a cat ball in your hand. Movement makes it go off. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
Put it on the floor.
Yeah, it's like you're triggering it yourself. And it reminds me actually of another investigation. This was over a decade ago. It was the only time I ever got to investigate this place, which was Boulder, Kentucky. And even I knew about this already. I really wanted to say something. I think we've all had that moment, like when you see somebody using a tool and it's not the correct way, or it's not being accurate. You just want to say, you're not getting anything right. Well, in this case, so we went to Bobby Mackey's Music World. And funny thing is, everybody always says, that place is full of demons. There was that possession that occurred there and whatever. And while that may have been true years ago, the entire time that I was at Bobby Mackey's, we had little to no activity. In fact, the only type of activity we got from that place was it happened before we even got started, actually. So this was one of the rare times that happened before we even began, but it was brief. It was just a brief cold breeze that just went past us. And that was it. And we knew that was something we couldn't explain because we went during the middle of August. So, and oh my God, I'll never forget how extremely it was hot in this place.
Right.
So with that brush of cool air that no AC was on, so that we couldn't understand. But that was the only thing that occurred during the investigation. But during that later part of the investigation, there was an investigator who brought a friend of hers with, and she unfortunately used the Ghost Radar app. And I'm thinking in my head, oh no, she's using that. And she literally thought she was getting legit answers. And I can't tell you. I just really want to go up and say, you're not actually getting answers, right? That's just the app doing that. You're not getting anything out of this.
I must admit, I have seen people using that, like the ghost detector app, where it actually shows the ghost.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
They'd be walking down a corridor with this app going. They've got their phone up, and all of a sudden you see this figure standing in the corner, and they go, "Oh my God, there's a ghost! There's a ghost!" I went, "Really? What app is that?" And they went, "Oh, it's Ghost Detector app." I went, "Right." So basically, your phone, being a smartphone, has got the technology and the capability to add a figure into a picture that it's seeing. Yep. It's basically editing a photo or a video reel that you're actually filming at the time. That's just superimposed the figure. I said, if you freeze frame that and literally zoom in on it, you'll find it's the little girl with the long black hair from The Ring.
Yeah,
and sure enough,
exactly.
She stopped it, she paused it, she zoomed in, and there it was, the little girl from The Ring. I went, and that's the one you'll find on most of these apps.
See, and normally I don't really trust a lot of the apps. I will admit there are a few, but I don't use like the camera ones.
Yeah.
I use relatively few. It's just mostly the Ghost Box ones. So like the ones I have, and this is the ones that a lot of them people have used anyways. I use the EchoVox, Spiritus, Necrophonic, and EVP Shifter. But other than that, I don't really use many of the apps. The only time that you would really ever even really see me use these apps is if I'm unable to bring my paranormal equipment.
Yeah.
So the apps, in a way, they're kind of more or less a backup for me if I don't have my equipment available. But they're the only types of apps that I think actually work. All the other ones I don't trust.
I use one called Ghost Tools, and that's basically an EVP with a word generator on it. An EMF, sorry, with the word generator on it. So it gives you the level of EMF, but then every once in a while, if the EMF levels go up, a word normally gets generated. And we've had complete sentences come through. And we're like,
really?
okay. And one particular incident, we were over at a place called Mersey Island here in Essex. And it was used to be, I don't know about so much now, but it used to be well known for its oysters. And it dated right the way back to the Roman times. There was a Roman camp there. And while we were on, the actual island itself is connected by a causeway. So every time the tide comes up, the causeway is completely covered and you can't get onto the island.
Right.
And there was 9 of us, and we all had our mobile phones, and we were all using the Ghost Tools app. And I'd come off of mine, and I was using my camera to take a picture towards London from where we were. It's called the Blackwater, and it's just literally marshland and a few hills. And when I stopped, I went, oh, look at the picture. Look, the sky's gone purple. And as I said that, everybody's phone pinged, and the word that came up on everyone's phone was the word sky. And we're like, okay,
Oh, really?
has the phone heard me say the word sky and put it into the box as a word that we knew? But then we thought, hang on a minute, everybody's phone has said the same thing. One after the other, it pinged with the word sky. And I'm like, whose phone is on flight mode? 4 people.
Oh, that's, yeah.
4 people's phones were on flight mode. So that made it a little bit more harder to say, well, it's got to be the app, because the app wasn't running on any networks. And I thought, right, okay, that's a bit strange. I didn't think much of it. But then straight after that, we all turned, and the causeway that leads onto the island splits into 2. And one goes off to East Mersey, which is all farmland, where the Roman farmers used to be. And then the West Mersey was where all the hustle and bustle of the camp was, and all the fisheries headquarters and restaurants and the shops and that all were. And as we walked back towards our cars, which were on the left fork in a lay-by, my partner Ellen says, I really need to go for a pee. I said, well, we're out in the middle of nowhere. I said, go in front of Sam's car and behind my car, go in between the 2 cars. You'll be all right. No one will see you. It's dark. So she's right. Okay. So she's gone over to the cars. And as we've walked back, we see this old car coming down the hill. We saw the headlights, and they were the old Volkswagen Beetle headlights, the pure round ones. And they were sort of like an offish yellow. And it came down the hill towards us. It pulled into the lay-by in front of my car and turned the lights off. And we thought, right, okay, someone's probably coming down. So I called out, Ellen, you might want to stop peeing because there's a car pulled up in front of mine. And she went, oh my God. So she's got up quick and she went, no, there isn't. There's no car here. And we all saw it. We all turned around and said, the car has just come down and parked right in front of my car. And when we got there was no car. It had literally come down the hill, pulled in front of the car, lights off, vanished. It didn't come past us. It didn't turn around and go back up the hill. It just stopped and disappeared. And we're like,
Jeez, wow.
Okay, that's a bit weird. But that area is well known for the Roman centurion. There's a Roman centurion or soldier that walked across that causeway and then walks up the road to where there's a burial mound. And
Makes total sense. Yeah.
we've seen some really strange stuff. And we filmed an episode of Truth Beyond Paranormal over there a couple of months ago. And it was the worst time to film. It was freezing cold. It was chucking it down with rain. And we were told about some hauntings on the beach where the oyster beds are. So we thought, right, we'll go along there. But the wind was so much and the rain was so much that you just could not pick anything up on EVP. So it was pointless doing that. The cameras were getting soaking wet. We were getting soaking wet. So I turned around to our director and said, there is an anti-aircraft gun emplacement just a little bit further up the beach. So we're like, cool, no problem, we'll go there. We've managed to get in. Now, the entrance to this place is 3 foot high. So we've had to get on our hands and knees to get into this little air raid shelter, sort of anti-aircraft gun emplacement. And it literally, the gun emplacement sits in the middle, and then there's an undercover area that goes all the way around it. So it's like a little bunker, and in each quarter it's got the little view holes to shoot out of if needed. And we'd got inside, we started filming, we'd got my laser grid set up, pitch black outside, but at least it was getting warmer in there. It wasn't so cold. We started calling out, and to start off with, not much was happening. And then out of nowhere, we heard this voice go, hello? I'm like, is that someone walking their dog? And our director turned around and went, not 10:30 at night, surely. Oh, it's pitch black out there. There's no torches, can't see nothing. So I went outside. There's no one there. Couldn't see anybody. Shone me torch around. Nobody. There was no dog walkers, nothing. Got back inside. We're like, there's no one out there. I'm like, well, let's call out again. So he said, right, if that was you that just said hello, could you say it again, please? And then his voice went, hello? And I'm like, nah, I'm hearing things. It's got to be the wind's doing this. Well, no, definitely. Are you male or female? And then all of his voice went, male. I'm like, hang on a minute, we're not using no apps. There's nothing switched on. There's just a laser grid and the camera. Where's this voice coming from? So my director's husband then went outside. He walked around and he was gone for about 20 minutes. And he came back. He said, I've walked all the way back down to the beach. There's nothing there. I've walked all the way back to the car park on the footpath and there's nothing there. There's no cars in there. So who was it? And we're like, okay, this isn't right. But, and that's the problem, is that sometimes you can go to places and they will be really active. And other places, other times, could be there's a dodo. And like you said with Bobby Max, the reports that you get are it's a very haunted location. But like you said, you went there and not much happened. You had the cold breeze at the beginning. And that was near enough it. So,
yeah, basically. Go ahead.
It then asks the questions that, or answers the questions that spirit aren't performing seals. They do need energy to be able to do stuff. And you've just got there at the wrong time.
Exactly. That's how I saw it. And I think I still remember how disappointed some people were when we went, because again, they thought it was going to be this horrific, paranormal energy that, again, we were going to encounter demons. Someone was going to be possessed. We were going to get scratched like that very first episode of Ghost Adventures, and nothing like that ever happened to us. And as a matter of fact, in my personal opinion, maybe there really was truly a demonic force that once inhabited Bobby Mackey's, but since there was that exorcism, that it probably actually truly removed it. So as a result of that, there's probably not as much activity as it was when Bobby Mackey first got it back in the 70s. So I don't think it's necessarily that, it's not even just necessarily that spirits were just needed the energy. I think the true evil energy, there's just nothing left of it. I think it's completely gone now.
If it was there in the first place, because like we said, some of these TV shows, they have had to exaggerate the truth to get the views. Yes. And it could have been that Bobby Max wasn't as haunted as it was made out to be. Yeah. And as a result of that, they are expected to, live by expectation. ghost adventurers have gone, oh, well, there's this here, there's that there, and there's this in here, and it's been kicking off. And then the paranormal team goes there and with doing an event, and they sold tickets for the general public to come along. The general public have heard of the things that have happened, and they're expecting the same thing again. And of course, they've got in there and they've gone, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah, it's like completely the opposite. So, and that's the other thing too, because I've done research. I mean, the history on Bobby Mackey's. He wasn't necessarily just like a country club. I mean, I know it's closed now, but it had been for several years. But it had been a number of other things. So the real question is, if it had been a few other things where it was owned by other companies, why didn't anybody say about the hauntings prior, before Bobby Mackey, bought it? I mean, yes, obviously one reason is maybe they did have the activity and they just wanted to keep quiet about it, didn't want to say anything. Or again, you kind of have to wonder if they really exaggerated after when Bobby Mackey built. I think he bought it back in 1970. I think it was 1977 or 78. He bought it.
I mean, it's like the Hellfire Caves in High Wycombe.
Yes.
I mean, most of us have all heard of the Hellfire Club.
Yep.
And I've investigated in the one here in High Wycombe, it must be about 5 or 6 times. And not one time have I been there that I could say there was irrefutable evidence of the paranormal in there.
Right.
I've heard some strange sounds, and there are parts of Hellfire Caves that you can't go into. But pretty much most of the things that I've heard in there, I've managed to find an answer for. And we were right down the bottom of the caves, and there was a group of us. There was a couple of celebrities in there with us, and they'd said, if you hear anything, point your torches at it and see what you can find. And we kept hearing this tapping noise. And so they turned around and said, if that's you making that tapping noise, can you do it again? Conveniently enough, the tap.
You hear the tap, yeah.
So can you do that again? So we're like, it keeps doing it. Can you do it twice, please? Oh, okay. And I went, nah, this ain't right. So I shone my torch up to the roof. Well, bearing in mind, this is a cave.
Yeah.
It's surrounded by rock. Now, this rock was porous as hell. It was limestone. So there was water coming through the ceiling, and it was dripping.
Yeah.
Now, they had set up the bottom of this tunnel like it was like a party room. It was all set up with a table. There was fake fruit and stuff all over the table itself. There was mannequin dummies, and there was water dripping from the ceiling, and it was landing right in the fruit bowl.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, just even thinking of how that. That reminds me of another one. But I'll hold off until I'll wait. That reminds me of another one, but I'll tell you after when you're done with your story.
And of course they use this, and they use this to say to people, come to the Hellfire Caves when we're next there, because so much happened and this happened, and I'm standing there going, but it didn't happen. I debunked it. It was water coming from the ceiling dripping into the fruit bowl. If you move the fruit bowl or move the table, you'll find that dripping sound stops. Sure enough. The next time I went back there, I purposely moved the table when I was setting up so that where the water was dripping from the ceiling went straight onto the gravel floor. You couldn't hear it dripping then. So, of course, we'd gone in there. They started calling out, if there are any spirits in this room, can you please make a noise? And there weren't nothing. And they went, oh, that's strange, because the last time we were here, we kept getting tapping noises. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, because the last time you were here, the water was dripping in the bloody fruit bowl, and I've just moved the freaking table. I'm like, seriously? But these people were suckered into believing, because what they'd done was When they advertised a return to the Hellfire Caves, they had actually advertised it in a way that they actually stated what evidence was caught the previous time.
Right.
And half of
Right.
it was garbage. I debunked
Yeah.
most of it. And I'm thinking, you've made this out to be one of the most haunted places in the world. And yet I've walked into the Hellfire Caves with a box full of equipment. I've walked right the way down to the far end of the place on my own. There's nobody else in here whatsoever. I haven't felt anything odd. I haven't seen or heard anything odd, apart from the dripping from the bloody ceiling. And I've moved the table out the way and put the box on it. And I've walked out without any feeling whatsoever. But
Yeah.
because they played on what had happened previously, there was 35 guests waiting to go in there. And they'd all paid over £65 to get in there that night.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it.
See, I just thought of a couple good examples, like, you know, where I was able to debunk something real quick, and everybody always thought this was very haunted. But again, another old one I can remember was over 10 years ago, we investigated this an opera house in the town of Rossville, which is a little bit further south, probably about 2.5 hours out, kind of more in central Illinois. And indeed, it was a haunted opera house. Don't get me wrong. There was actual activity that occurred. And the history of it's actually quite interesting if you learn about it. Sadly, however, the owner of the Rossville Opera House, he actually passed away a couple of years ago. So as of right now, I don't know if they're doing investigations anymore or if someone else has bought the building. I'm not sure. But what was interesting about this place was that it was not only just an opera house back in its days, it was also a secret hideout. Well, not hideout, but a secret meeting place for the Freemasons. And
Right.
the Freemasons operated the opera house. So that's where they got their income from. So there were obviously a lot of stories involving the opera house and the Freemasons. And there was one time that I guess I was standing in one of the upper levels of the building, and there were lights on in this part. And then afterwards, after a few minutes, I came back to like the meeting area, and one of the guys, he comes on, he's like, guys, you got to check out this picture that I got. I got a full shadowy figure. And I was like, all right, let's take a look at it. And he's like, it's got a wide brim hat. He's holding a gun. And I've never seen anything like it. And I look at the picture and I literally say to him, like, oh, so-and-so, you can't possibly expect me to believe this. Because you know why? That's me. He took a picture of my shadow because that room I was standing in, it casted a shadow on the wall. So it was like, so it's like, you can't expect me to believe this. That's clearly me standing in the hallway. And yes, that wide brim hat, I was wearing my, typical baseball cap, and the supposed gun that was in the figure's hand, that was me holding my phone. So it was a good way to really debunk it, but it was funny as hell. Pickle Tom's in the house.
Hey. I mean,
yeah, I was able to debunk that in like 20 seconds.
I think it is quite laughable when people just jump at the first thing that happens and they immediately go, oh, it's a ghost, it's paranormal.
Yep.
It's not always going to be paranormal. So that's the whole idea why you investigate something, because you need to rule out what it isn't. And
right.
you hear a knocking and you go, right, so I've heard the knocking. Is it metallic? Is it wooden? Does it feel like it's on concrete or, a rock surface? And then you start crossing off in your mind. You start crossing off what it isn't. And then you go, right, yeah. So we've got wood. So, right, then you start looking about in that area for anything that's wooden.
Yep.
And at the same time, you keep asking out, can you do it again, please? And all that time, you're still investigating, but you're calling out and asking it to do it again. So you can narrow it down even further. So, they jump at it straight away and go, oh, it's a ghost. And you're like, no, you'll need to give me at least half an hour and I'll be able to tell you exactly what it is.
That brings me to another example of something like that for another investigation. And we found out, obviously, it was a prank, but it was another good example nonetheless. This was a recent one from about 3 years ago. It was actually, well, in fact, when I first got started involving with these podcast networks, I went on my first ever investigation with, this was before we formed Things Network. This was when we used to be on the old network. So, and Jeremy was a part of it too. We investigated Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky, and there was one time I was with one of the other guys. So I think we were on it was either the third or fourth floor. We were kind of out in the hallway where the big windows are, and we started like asking questions and stuff, and then we start hearing those taps, and we start saying, "Well, can you do that again?" And before you know we could hear it, but it sounds like it's a lot stronger. And then at one point, even parts of the ceiling, like little stones were raining down on our heads. Yeah. And after a few, we're thinking, okay, something's going on here, because we knew, of course, this was concrete. And yes, it's an old building. Parts, a lot of it's been repaired, but a lot of parts are still kind of, falling apart because of the age of the building. And we found out later on that it was actually two investigators upstairs. They heard us, doing the questions. And so they were stopping. They started stomping on the ground, and that's where all these rocks started coming from.
But I must admit that it's difficult, because part of me says I'd love to do that, and then a part of me says, but that's not why I do it, right. And I keep saying to myself, one of these days I'm going to do an event where it is literally just going to be where we are specifically going out to make people jump on purpose.
Right.
Exactly. Do the serious investigations, but then could do another event where we scare these people on purpose. So we get the team to take them down into an old ammunition bunker, and they're all standing there with their cat balls in their hands, maybe a REM pod or something, and they're trying to do a serious investigation. Then all of a sudden you stick your head through a hole in the wall and go, "Hello, everybody," and make them all jump on purpose, to see their reaction. And then later on, do it in another area, to make them jump. And I think part of me wants to do that, and part of me, the majority of me, wants to do it seriously, because that's why I do it.
Right.
But
same with me too.
I do like to have a bit of fun at the same time.
Yeah. See, Tom's got a question. So funny but serious. Have either of you been on an investigation and someone farts causing someone to think it was a ghost groan? I actually have been. It's funny he said that. There was somebody, it was actually at the Waverly investigation, same investigation at Waverly Hills. And we heard some noise, and weren't sure who that was that did. It's like, did you just seriously rip ass or something? And I don't remember who the person was like, no. It was like, you sure about that? Because it sounded like that. I think it was, honestly, but never found out who it was that did that.
But Tom wasn't on when I mentioned it, but I had an incident where I was filming an episode for the show that I do called Truth Beyond Paranormal. And earlier on in the evening, we'd been to a local pub, and I'd had a wild boar burger with salad and chips, or fries, whatever. Now, my body reacts to salad.
Really?
My body doesn't like salad. So that and the protein from the wild boar burger didn't go down too well. So
they definitely didn't mix.
No, we've gone out onto the investigation, and we're in Aleppo Hospital, and we were just communicating with this little girl, and all of a sudden I did the silent but violent, and it stunk to high heavens. And we were using an Alice box, and we were getting all these answers from this little girl named Charlotte. And all of a sudden, one of our team, Peter, He went, "Oh my God, can anybody smell that sulfur? That's really bad." And I thought, no, I can't. I've got to admit to this. I'm peeing myself laughing. And I went, "I'm sorry, that was me." And they're like, "Oh." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry." Peter went, "Oh, that's really bad, Wayne. That's really bad." I was like, "I'm sorry, I can't help it." And that was it. We were in hysterics. But what that then in turn did was that brought more positive energy into the investigation. And as we were walking towards the beach where we parked the car, as we were walking along the main road, we heard these come up behind us. And myself, my partner, and my director, we turned around and shone our torches on the floor, expecting to see someone there. And all we could see were little footprints going back along the road to where the chapel was that we'd just been in.
Wow. So
So
you definitely
we
brought
were
some kind of energy.
So although it stunk to high heavens and it made us all laugh, what it then in turn did was it raised the positive energy for something to happen. And
Exactly.
it was brilliant. You know, we couldn't have asked for anything better. So
Yeah.
just by me breaking wind actually got us a decent bit of evidence. Like, who would
Definitely
have
had a
thought
positive
it?
reaction to it. That's right, Tom. And I wanted to show what he said.
Yeah.
I would totally be the dude popping out to scare people. I can see Tom doing that definitely, but he and I always like
Hello?
he and I always like to say this a lot. It's actually from that show King of the Hill. I could see him pop out and go, "I'll tell you what." There was another time where I guess it was another prank, but who knows? It could have said positive energy too. This is the third idea I could think of was investigating the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. There was actually one of the actual things investigations. Did that 2 years ago, and we were in the chapel part of the prison, and I started asking questions, and I started hearing like these grunts. It was like the weirdest thing ever, and I mean, I thought it was interesting first of what I got, but then when it started doing this, I guess really I think I bought too much into it. I really thought I was getting responses until I started hearing other noise, and then at one point I turned my flashlight on because I think, what the hell was that noise I just heard? Because there's in the chapel area there's still pews in the chapel, so I knew it was coming from one of the pews, and I took my flashlight, and then all of a sudden I look down and I start seeing these feet, these shoes on the pew. I'm like, what the? And then I'm like moving, and of course that's going into the shape of legs. Actually, it was actually two pairs of legs, but they were like on opposite directions. And I found out that it was two of the investigators who were actually a couple were actually the ones making those noises to think that we were actually having like an actual conversation with the spirit. Like, what the hell is this? Wait, what was that?
Sorry, that was my daughter being a pain in the bum. She just brought something in from outside that needs to be kept outside.
Oh, jeez.
We've had a whale of a time today. We've been tidying up my back garden, and although we keep telling the kids to stay out of the pool because the water's dirty, they kept jumping in it and made it even dirtier. So we've now had to empty the pool altogether. And of course, they don't listen. I'm getting to that stage where when I go on holiday in a couple of weeks' time, I might open the plane door and chuck them out on the way over. So, you see like Corfu down there? Well, we'll see you there later.
But I know that like when it comes to pranks and stuff like that, I mean, yeah, you're not really supposed to do that for serious investigations, but like we were just saying before, I mean, if it's bringing some kind of positive energy, that does have that beneficial side to it then for the
Yes.
investigation.
Definitely. And if you just go in there, you take your spell of protection and you just sort of stand there and hope that you hear or see something, the chances are going to be you're not going to get nothing.
Exactly. I've always said a lot of times when I go on investigations that if I get something, great. If I don't get anything, I'm still going to be satisfied because at least we tried. And that's something, of course, and although a lot of us in the paranormal field have come to understand that, there's a lot of others out there who haven't. And again, to throw past experiences, they're probably one of the best ones I can come up with was about 5 years ago. In fact, it was during a ghost tour, not necessarily an investigation, but it was a ghost tour that I was actually helping out with. It was with Chicago haunts writer Ursula Bielski. Oh, wait, hang on. Before I tell you, guess who decided to show up? What's up? You made it, Lynn.
Hello.
So see, I've still got my uniform on. I've just this second got in from work. Wow. Yeah.
Well, hey, better late than never.
Yeah, it is.
But, you've missed the funny bit. We've already been talking about stomachs gurgling and farting during investigations. You've missed all the best bits.
Oh, that's fun.
There's nothing quite like a good pop while everybody's being quiet.
Yeah, well, exactly.
All that up all day.
Is there anybody there? Oh, sorry, that was me.
I was telling Wayne about some of my past investigations where there was like supposedly noises where we thought they were legit until we found out it was different things, and I've been a victim of that a few times in some investigations.
Do you know what gets me when I'm on an invest? Do you know when you're trying to get? Hi, Tom. Do you know when you're trying to get some EVP and you're sitting there quiet and I'm listening, I'm thinking, what on earth's that? Do you know when people are breathing and they're whistling down the nose? You know?
I've had that when I've had a cold and I'll be standing there and people will be going, if you're there, could you make a noise? And all of a sudden I'll take a deep breath in and all of a sudden I'll go, but I'll breathe out. Everybody goes, what the hell was that? And I'll be like, sorry, hang on a minute. Gotta clear my throat. And it's like someone's trying to do a Punch and Judy show. You just got this high-pitched squealy noise, and you're just like, what the hell was that?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I love
they're doing tough. Anyway. We tried to get an EVP, but instead got a. Oh, that's a good one. But...
An electronic fart phenomena.
Yeah. Should make a machine for that.
Like what I was going to say. I mean,
have a competition to see if you can make a whistle.
But like what I was saying though, right before you came on, Lynn, like you were saying right, about like you're most likely not going to get anything during an investigation, but there might be other times you may be able to. And I was saying that I was helping out with a ghost tour 5 years ago, and I mean, as far as I know, we didn't really get much activity from the places we went to. I mean, the tour went great, nonetheless, except for a few people that were part of this tour. We were going down to some, I forgot the name of the place, but it was kind of like a grassland or kind of nearby wooded area.
Yeah.
So we get off of it. And we're walking over. There's supposedly like the remains of a noose that once exists. I think someone was executed there. I'm not really sure. I don't remember the story. Again, it was 5 years ago. So, but anyways, we're walking to the location, and there's these people that are walking behind me along with my friend Tom McNicholas, and they I don't know if these are the exact words, but they said something along the lines like sorry, I heard voices in the back.
That's all right. That's two of my daughters getting a bollocking.
Oh.
But yeah, there was these people that were walking behind us. They're like thinking, geez, we have been on this all day, nothing's happened. We paid all this money for this. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was just so disrespectful the way how these people were talking about this. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I may have been the youngest person to be helping out with this tour, but I literally was almost ready to turn around and say, well, you know what? It doesn't work. It doesn't work this way. You're not going to have activity when you go. And if you're not satisfied, then you might as well go wait on the bus until we're done.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I really wanted to say that to him, because that was like, you go to these places thinking you're going to experience activity or something like that, and maybe you'll be lucky, but for the most part, it doesn't work like that.
No, absolutely not. No. The thing is, the best things happen when you least expect them to.
Well, and this goes back to what you were saying, Wayne. Like, you have people that are saying all this crap during the tour, they're upset and because nothing's happening, and then they're saying all these, kind of a taunting kind of way. Well, you say that kind of stuff, I can definitely guarantee you're not going to have any type of activity occur, because then you're spread, just like we were saying about the pranks. In this case, you're spreading negative energy then.
Yeah. Do you know what I always find if I'm sorry, Wayne? I always find, say I'm on an invest somewhere, I get more response of being upbeat, happy, calling out like it's the normal people. I'm talking to normal people, not, are you there? Can you make a sound? Because if I was on the other side and my job was to go to a house, right, or a building to haunt something, the last thing I would want was every Joe coming in and asking the same things. Touch the ball, make the lights flash. I'd be thinking, what's all that about? You know.
That reminds me of the BBC series Ghosts, which was then turned into an American comedy. And me and my partner have recently been watching the American version, and we found it so much better than the British version. It's hilarious.
I know.
And I look at that and I think to myself, do you know what? In a way, they're right. Random people just turn up expecting there to be a ghost. And as a ghost, you'd be sitting there going, oh, for God's sake, not more people again. Oh, shit, here we go. They're going to go round. They're going to be walking about with their overpriced boxes of gadgets going, is there anybody there? Do you know what? I think I'm going to take a night off. I'm going to go upstairs and lay down, and I'm going to stay out of their way. If I hear them coming, I'll just move to another room.
I'd be lying down like on my side on the floor, and I'd be going. They'll be going.
Something I was going to say about that.
What your name is?
I could imagine it. I could imagine it. You go into a haunted location, and the ghost is going, oh, for God's sake, not again. So these people have then set up, and they've got everybody in the room. They've gone, right, everybody be quiet. We're going to call out. And then someone they go, if there are any spirits in this room, could you please come forward? Could you touch one of us? Could you move an object? Can you say something? And all of a sudden, this ghost goes, oh, for God's sake, will you lot just fuck off and leave me alone? I've had enough. And you watch everybody run. Watch everybody just bolt. They'll go.
Do you know what? You're right there, right?
I'd save up my energy just to do it.
I took a group of people from a place I used to work years ago. Must be about 18 years ago, right? And they said, "Oh, do you go to that place?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I go there often." "Oh, can we go?" So I booked them in. Right, booked them in. So the young career money people, right? So we go up there and we go up this lane and it's all dark and dank and the big Jacobean mansions there in front of us. So they said, well, where do we go? Right, we've got to get out now, walk up this pathway. But it's dark, yeah, because there's no moon tonight. So we'll walk up there. So one of the lads' girlfriend who worked with us said, no, you can't make me go in. I said, she wanted to come. Right. She was stuck like that on the inside of the car with her legs up, clinging on. refusing to get out the car. So we said, right, leave her there. Just stay there until we finished. So she got out the car.
Don't want to be on my own.
You know, I also just came to the realization too, like when it comes to some of these locations that people come out to, it's like, and I just saw this recently on one of the older paranormal shows. It's one that's not really made it. They don't make it anymore. It was like 15 years ago that they made the last season. Was I don't know if you guys ever remember that show Ghostly Encounters. You guys remember that one?
I've heard of it.
They have, yeah.
Well, fortunately, YouTube's been uploading a lot of the old episodes now, so they're easily accessed. And as far as I know, too, I think it's also one of the rather few Canadian paranormal shows, because a lot of the places they focused on were in Canada, although they did also focus a few locations, not some in the US and also some in the UK, but primarily it was in Canada. So there was a famous road that they have in Ontario, which it's one of the few places. Obviously, it's one of those type of shows where a lot of the places were private locations, but this was one of the few that this was one that everyone's heard of. It's called Texas Road, located in Ontario. And it was about this guy who, when he and his friends were teens, they went out to Texas Road, which whether or not it's really haunted, it's still a very creepy looking road because it's in a forest, it's in a wooded area, so you have all these trees around. And I guess the story, and this is how they originally thought what they were supposed to do against some kind of activity, was it was one of those classic examples where there was a bridge on Texas Road, and that you're supposedly, if you said to walk 3 times around, your car will die and you can't get it to work. So they did the whole routine, like as the legend goes. But of course, once they got back into the car was still working. So it was obvious that, all these kids were upset as a result. But the funniest part is, and this is what I find interesting about some of these places. You sometimes go to these places and go like do as the legend is supposed to tell you to do, but when nothing happens, what you may not realize is there is something, truly paranormal. It's just not an association with the legend, because a few minutes after, when they tried doing this dare, all of a sudden this huge bright white light showed up out of nowhere and started chasing these kids down the road. And they kept trying to see, was it the police? Was it some, crazy farmer that was trying to give them help? They couldn't see anybody. And it kept chasing them down the road. And then afterwards, after they finally got out of there, they actually decided to head back to see who it was, because they thought if it was somebody trying to chase out, there would have been some trace of them. They go back down that road. They saw there were no other cars on that road that night. So it's funny to think that you also have people who are under the impression of a dare involving a legend, only to find out that it may not be true, only to cross paths with something that really exists at this location. It's completely different.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
It really is. I was reading these earlier. We have an idea for a new tool, the EFP. When it detects a ghost, it makes a random fart. It could be the newest hot ghost hunting tool. And then it can be hooked into the internet to constantly download new sounds.
So that'd be good.
Yeah, there's so much, when it comes to there's just so much like when it comes to the do's and don'ts, but there's also some of those things that you just very least expect them. Like when you go out to these investigations.
I mean, it's also like the serious side of things is like obviously no alcohol or drugs.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we tell people we go on investigations, we tell them we can't be drinking or doing any of that kind of stuff.
I did an event down in London, and we got to the location, and we were about 3/4 of an hour early, and we're sitting in the car park, and I noticed this couple in the car to the side of us, and the bloke had been smoking a joint, and he was completely off his trolley. And I'm like, I hope he's just going to be sitting in the car and not actually take part in the event. And everybody else, all the team turned up. Celebrities had turned up. They'd all gone in. So we've gone in. We got everything set up. We then said to everybody, right, you can come in. And this bloke got out of the car with his missus and came into the building as well. So we got all these chairs all set out so they could have the health and safety and the smell protection and all that stuff. During the health and safety, I'd noticed this guy was sitting in the chair, and he was like, oh, like this, rocking all over the shop. And I'm like, something ain't right with this guy. So I've quietly gone to the organiser and I've said, there's a guy there, 3rd row in, 4th seat in. He is completely off his trolley. He was smoking something in the car next to ours before you all arrived. I don't think he should be on this. He said, well, we'll wait until the health and safety bit's finished and the speller protection's done, and then we'll politely ask him to go and sit out inside the car. So they finished the health and safety bit, went to go on to the speller protection, and it freaked him out. He completely lost it while they were doing the speller protection. They had to get him out before they'd even finished.
Wow.
Whether he had seen some, obviously, because they reckon that some drugs or some of these substances can sort of heighten your senses or make you hallucinate or see things that aren't really there. He had something had freaked him out. And we had to sort of grab him and say, look, you're not going to be safe to go around this place the way you are. Yeah. So we strongly suggest you go and sit out in your car. And he was quite happy to go. He couldn't have got out there quick enough. And I sort of partly wondered whether he just went there just to keep his partner happy. And so, of course, he ended up getting kicked out. He's like, oh, I can sit in my car and play mobile phone games instead. And he was happy sitting in the car all night. And we were in there for 5.5 hours. We were in there. And he's sitting in the car all that time.
Wow.
It's, and things like that, and, these substances and alcohol, they can turn people into the weirdest of people, the vilest of people, the angriest of people.
Yeah.
And so you don't want them on an investigation because they are going to ruin it. And so,
I think and you might. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead first, Lynn.
When you're going, see, my version of that is it's absolutely spot on. You shouldn't be taking drugs. You shouldn't be having any alcohol whatsoever, because, all right, it might heighten people's senses to a degree, but they're not getting real things because it's mixed up with their imagination and something that's whatever the hallucinating with. And
you're not in control of your senses.
No, and that means it's a dangerous thing for the people around them.
Yep.
Because they could do something which would have a bad knock-on effect for the other people who've paid their money just the same as they have and have gone for a true experience and an investigation. Because a lot of people, you don't always get the same people going to each place. Sometimes you do, but there's a lot of people who want to go, newbies, who want to know what it's like. They don't want it to be bullshit. They want to see how you can go there, they could be bored stiff, get nothing. You You could go 2 or 3 times and get nothing, and all of a sudden something happens. You've got to keep at it. And it's like it's been doing it for years. We've kept at it and kept at it. But you've just got to do it. And it's like perfumes. You don't wear perfumes when you go to a smelly deodorants. You've got to be neutral. You don't want any smells because that corrupts it. Everything gets corrupted. So that's a no-no with me. And if I take anybody on a ghost walk up to our woods, they're not allowed to run off scared and screaming. Because I always say, if you're going to run off, you're on your own, because I'm not looking for you. I'm putting other people at risk falling down cliffs or anything like that. So, I mean, it can go deep. But it's like you say, you know, people who've never been before, you get that 1% who are insisting that, oh, it's rubbish this because we've had nothing. Yeah. Because they do not understand.
See, there was even, you're going to find it's even hard to believe, but this was also a huge no-no either when it comes to investigations. But that one investigation I mentioned about when I went to Ohio State Reformatory, and this was actually the securities rules too. They obviously said to us, you know, no drugs, no alcohol or anything like that. And it's going to, not to get too personal, but they even said no sexual activity either. And of course, obviously some of the guys, obviously they were chugging, oh, darn. But they actually said, you know, that actually has happened a few times. And thankfully they had all these security cameras and stuff. So they said if they caught you for that, they were going to have to ask you to leave without, you know, refund basically. So that's the other thing you got to watch out for too.
Can you imagine that? Someone walking back in, it gets to break time and someone walks back in and go, you won't believe the EVP I just got.
Or can you imagine?
Shall I play it to you?
Can you imagine like a few years later, like if you did miss that and then you decide to go past like previous recordings that you haven't been able to review, and I'll say like, hey guys, check this out.
This is an amazing EVP. I think we need to publicize this.
I got to show what Tom's. Well, and Tom's right about this. Just for him, though, not for investigations. Alcohol doesn't turn me into a mean person or anything. It makes me happy. I know. I've seen it on camera. And better at golfing. That's that game that I play.
I mean, drink just tends to make me funnier than I already am.
Well, I'm the same. You think I'm a lunatic now. You want to see me when I've had a drink. I'm just so happy, on a high, and I'll laugh, mind. I'll laugh at anything anyway, but you know what I mean? I'm even worse.
There's always a bright white. There's always a bright white light that shows up. How cool and trippy would it be if it was a huge black light? Everyone wearing white or fluorescent colors. I will admit that actually would be kind of cool. But
you go in wearing fluorescent Bermuda shorts and a flashy shirt, and you turn a UV light on, and everybody starts glowing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would be no good for Lois with her teeth.
Just like that picture. Hey, just like that picture I showed you guys where my teeth were glowing.
I can imagine actually going with Leon on a walk, and all of a sudden something happens and somebody bolts, and the first thing they do is turn around and run straight into a tree trunk. What was that?
Yeah, if you're going to do stuff like that, you've got to know the area, haven't you?
Yeah. Know where you're going to run to. Always know your exits.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I have done it before. I've raised positive energy when we've walked into somewhere and I've gone, the exits are here and here.
Wow.
But these things happen.
Yeah, they do.
I always make sure that I tell people right at the start of the night, while everybody's sitting there sipping their cups of coffee and nicking my digestive biscuits, that don't expect something to happen. Do not expect to walk into a location and it to kick off straight away or at all, because they are not performing seals. They are not going to come up all the time, every time, just because you've asked them to. If they don't feel like doing anything, they're not going to do it. You can't force them, and you can't make them or persuade them. If they want to, they will do it.
That's it.
And
often
9
tell
times
them
out of 10, I would be honest to say that every event I've been on, when I've told them that, they have walked away still happy. Because the way I see it is, okay, I've gone to a location that is allegedly haunted. And if nothing has happened, where have I just been for the last 6 hours where not a lot of people can go? I've been into a location in the middle of the night in a closed location. It's not open to the public. You can't just walk in there. I've been given a special privilege of going in there out of hours to investigate somewhere. And if nothing happens, so what? I could stand there and go, I've just been in a World War II bunker for the last 6 hours in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Who else is going to do that?
Yeah.
exactly.
It's a
Well,
privilege.
You know,
Yeah, it's a privilege to be able to go to some of these places. Because to be honest with you, when you look at the prices, I mean, the prices that some people charge, they have to, because of the price of the building. So you see, you split it, don't you? And they pay that. But other people, they do make money on it because they're running it as a business. But to be able to actually go to some of these locations, and I find the cheapest ones are normally the best ones. You get a lot of them, because all the big ones, you expect too much. I think people expect a lot off a big thing.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I'm more currently organising one for Colchester Castle. Now, Colchester Castle is known as, I think it's Europe's biggest and best well-kept Norman keep.
I love Norman architecture.
And it dates back to before the Romans.
Wow.
And Boudica ransacked Colchester.
She was unbeaten.
She destroyed Colchester Castle. But then it was rebuilt. And when you walk around Colchester Castle, there's certain bricks in the walls all around the castle that still bear the black marks from the fires when she ransacked Colchester.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something in a minute. Go on.
So you've got that history there, but you've got where Charles Lucas and Sir George Lisle were executed around the back of the castle. Where their bodies landed, or where their bodies fell, the grass stopped growing. And this was all during the Civil War.
Right, yeah.
So the grass stopped growing. They tried to replace the grass with new turf, still wouldn't grow back. And then over the years, they kept trying different things to try and get the grass to grow, still wouldn't grow. So they put a path through it and then put a monument to the pair right on the spot where they fell. Then you've got 2 cavaliers walk through the castle out the back door. You've got witches, both the male prison downstairs, the female prison upstairs, which is now the chapel, is highly active.
Oh, I'd love to go there.
And the dungeon or the basement underneath the castle, where you can actually see the original Temple of Iceni, or Temple of Claudius is underneath there. You can see the remnants of that underneath. But there's a Roman soldier walks around under there, and his legs have been seen going from one section to the other underneath the castle. Now, you can't just go down into that basement. You have to be part of an organised tour to go in there.
Yeah.
But when you go there on a paranormal investigation, it costs, if you go there from 7:30 in the evening till 2:00 in the morning, it costs £1,500 to hire.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
So you do have to get 30 people paying £50 each just to cover the cost of the hire.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It's worth every penny, because yet again, you're going into a location in it's Colchester. Colchester is Britain's oldest recorded town. It's Britain's first city. It was the capital of England before London was. And so the history is there.
Yeah.
And you've got so much there, activity-wise, recorded activity, that, you know, you're in a place in the middle of the night investigating it.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Do you know what? You've just told me all that then, and I've melted. I can feel all this energy.
I love Colchester Castle. It's amazing. I mean, I've been in there 7-8 times now. The last time I was in there was February or March. And even though it was organised by Colchester Museums, and it was a very short period of time. We were only there from about 8:00 till midnight. So we only had 4 hours, but we were literally 45 minutes in each area. So we got into some areas, and when the activity started, it was time to stop and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not how you work it. You work it over a longer period of time. So you get an hour to an hour and a half in each area, but you make the area wider. You make it a bigger area. So if nothing works in that area, you can move into the area next door to it and investigate in there.
Yeah.
And then when that time's finished, you go back, you have a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever, then go off onto a completely different area for an hour and a half, and do the same thing there.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night, we make sure that there's like an hour free where people can go into whatever area they like or whatever area they felt the most active and do their own little mini investigations on their own. And it works. And Colchester Castle were looking at it and going, do you know what? That's not a bad idea. So they start to look at it and go, well, if we do away with these little talks at the beginning, we could save ourselves good 3/4 of an hour to an hour, which gives them more time going out looking at the investigation.
Yeah.
And they've openly admitted they don't know how to run a paranormal investigation, and that's why they ask other people to come in and help them.
Yeah.
Because they're not too sure how to run them. And they called me and asked me if I would go up there and help. And I ended up working with a team. And the problem was my team was technology. So we were walking around K2 meters, EMF meters and all of that. And I'm just like, seriously, I like doing a bit of both. Was it?
Look at the comment he put first up here, right?
Go to a different area in my mind. I saw Monty Python out for something completely different. I'm laughing so hard because here's the funny thing. I was just actually looking something up, and I just actually came across a clip of Monty Python. And it's so weird he brought that up, and I was just seeing a clip of that briefly.
And now for something completely different.
Yeah, I love Monty Python. I've got all their films.
The other nights that say me. You cannot come past here unless you buy us a strawberry.
It's even funnier because here's what he just wrote. Okay, so here's I was gonna wait. Sometimes I go into a place and I get
deja vu.
It's Boujar Day.
Boujar Day, which is different than deja vu. I'll explain. Let's say I go into an old barn for the 1800s. I look around at all the old tools and equipment, and then I look at the one wall. I'm immediately overcome with the weirdest feeling that I have never been there. So never do that. Here's the funniest part. That clip I actually came across of Monty Python was the deja vu one. It was that one called "It's the Mind." It dealt with the phenomenon of deja vu. That strange feeling that we lived through something before. He's not the Messiah. He's a very nice...
I was just about to say that.
Oh, God.
I was just about to go.
you
He's
are,
not the
man.
Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Ready for an next stepper? Pass me the holy hand grenade.
I was just looking at that.
Oh, God.
That's crazy.
Oh,
And speaking of which, since Tom's in the chat, Tom, I sent something to you in the chat, not personal chat, not Fear Fans chat, but there was a link I sent you. You got to check out. This bird is no more. You live rent free in all our heads, Toms. Every time I say something, that's what she said. We do have to end in a couple minutes, though, because I think Joe's doing his show today, so we will have to end in about 8 minutes.
I don't know. He's still on his way home, isn't he?
No, he said he was back home last night.
Oh.
At least as far as I know.
He was still on the road when he came on earlier.
Oh, he what? Oh, I guess. Well, I didn't. Okay. Well, oh, wait a minute. No, wait. No, you're right. You're right. He is on the road. Yeah, because I forgot. See, I didn't see most of the messages because I was at work earlier today, so I didn't really get to see very much. But yeah, no, now I remember. Yeah, he's on the road again. Okay.
Yes, because he was showing the lovely scenery. He went past an absolutely lovely shrubbery with a lovely little picket fence.
Yeah. Well,
with lovely little ornaments on top.
Yeah, well, we still have to end in a few minutes anyway, because we've been going once again for almost 2 hours. So this has been a fantastic show, though. I got to admit. Yeah, that's right. This is Tom's world.
I'm quite sure my straitjacket is still in the cupboard somewhere.
You know what? He would look good in a straitjacket. I can just imagine right now. I just imagine that was an episode of This Is Tom's World that way. He's in a straitjacket.
Hello and welcome to Tom's World. I will get out.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours later. He's still trying to get out of it.
I need to come off the live now. Can somebody help? I think I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, I'm sorry I'm late tonight, guys. Just that I've been in work since 7 o'clock this morning, and I'm worried anyway.
I was originally going to end it. I was originally going to end this after an hour because normally we do on Fridays. But since you showed up, I thought, well, we can give some extra time for Lynn so she could be on.
Yeah. I was going to say something then, and then my brain kicked in, and I thought, hang on a minute, how does that work? The saying, hold the fort. Have you ever held a fort in your hands? How does that work?
Hey, everyone.
It's too big.
I'm going to get a fort and start doing this.
I'm going to do that. Next time I'm at Harrods Redoubt Fort, I'm going to put my hands underneath and I'm going to go, I'm holding the fort. It's okay.
Welcome to another installment of Tom's World. In this video, I am in the middle of the woods in a straitjacket.
How are you going to hold Harrods Redoubt Fort?
That's what I mean. It's the saying, holding the fort. How do you hold
I
a
can't
fort?
wait. We gotta see this, Kate. I'm planning it at the moment. There'll be a promotion for This Is Tom's World. Well, let me tell you something. I'll start off with this. You can start off with this, Kate. Just start off with. Well, now I'll tell you what. Wait, well, I'll send you the list later, Tom. Obviously, run it by you before sending it out to the. Well, oh, is there a storm right now, Tom? Loud thunder here.
Oh, what? They've been saying we're going to get thunderstorms here for the last 3 days, and we ain't had nothing.
Right.
Same over here. They said
Now,
over here.
we've had rain.
I want a refund.
We've had rain for the last 2 hours, but it's only been like bits, right? I'm expecting a thunderstorm, but there's nothing happened. Now, tomorrow, I asked Alexa in this lady's house, Alexa, what's the weather going to be like?
What was she doing then?
Who, Alexa? Helping make the bed.
There was a third person there.
Yeah, it's going to be cloudy, but very, very warm.
We were supposed to get severe storms over. We were supposed to get severe storms over here too in like last 3 days, and we have not gotten a single storm. They've been saying several times, "Be prepared yourself. It's going to get rough," but there's been nothing.
Yeah.
They've been putting that out. It's coming out on mobile phones. Weather warnings, severe thunderstorms sweeping across the UK, and I'm like, well, I wish it'd bloody hurry up. It's been 3 days so far. Still waiting for it. Yeah. I might have to go outside with my wobble board and a bucket of water and make it myself. You can stand out in the garden. Whoa.
Yeah, it's been ungodly.
I've got the
feeling. Today, working at the park. Jeez. So, well, I mean, it's been hot over. Yeah, it's been hot over here too.
Yeah, it's been hot here. I got suntan. Well, sunburn even. I burnt me boobs.
I got.
And the worst part is, I've got a white line. I've got a white line just underneath where, well, the fold of skin has gone over. I've got this white line underneath.
Where your man boobs have been hanging over.
Yeah, me moobs have got a nice white mark underneath, like I've been wearing the metal bra strap underneath.
Has your airbag gone off, Wayne? Because sometimes if your airbag goes off, it lies underneath.
Well, I was thinking of getting some scaffolding. Just to hold them up.
Just to hold them up.
So it means now that I'm going to have to go and lay in the garden upside down so that I can get those bits red as well. The only problem is
Kate was going to make a joke about an ex-member of the royal family, but I won't bother.
No, don't bother.
The only problem is we've got into mozzie season as well. So if I lay down in the sunshine, I'm going to end up with mozzie bites everywhere.
Just put some insect repellent on. Not on the mozzie, on you.
I could do, but then that would spoil me fun because I like to execute mozzies.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I wait for them to land on my arm or my leg, and then as they're having their dinner, I pinch my skin so it forces the blood into them.
Deep woods off. What?
Because if you squeeze it, it stops them from withdrawing the proboscis.
Right.
They can't pull it out. So you force the blood into them, and it makes their butts explode.
Wow,
I never knew that.
But the problem is, because obviously when you pinch it, you can't feel it, so you're forcing the blood into the bodies, and then they just go and execute them that way.
What a good idea!
You learn something new every day.
But I won't do it again. I certainly won't do it again.
You naughty boy! How very dare you!
I hate it. I'm like it with. I hate it. I'm like it with spiders.
It's a deed of sorts. Helps keep mosquitoes and ticks off. Okay. Well, I mean, that's what he does. Like when he goes out to work.
Ah.
Yeah.
We've got these wipes. I don't know where they are.
What?
But we got these like baby wipes, but they've got the mosquito repellent on them.
Yes.
Oh, really?
And it's
Yeah.
they're quite good. I buy them by the box load, so we got plenty of them. And then what we do is we hang them up in the garden as well because they don't like the smell of citronella, so they just buzz off.
Lumberjack. Yeah, Tom's basically a lumberjack.
Oh.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Sleep all night and watch all day.
That ought to be your
I
theme
like
song.
to wear women's clothing and hang around in bars. See, this is the difference between the Thursday night show and the Friday night show. We try to keep it nice and serious on a Thursday, and then it's no holds barred for Fridays.
Yeah.
And isn't it strange? Isn't it strange how we've gone from the do's and don'ts of paranormal investigating to scenes from Monty Python's Flying Circus?
That's right.
How does that work? What are we doing?
I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest with you.
Cauldron of mixed emotions on this show, isn't it? Just a big cauldron. Oh,
but Tom just wrote the
Oh
whole
my word!
Couldn't time it fast enough. Weed beat me to it.
I can sing it quicker than you can type it.
He eats his lunch, he goes to the lavatory on Wednesday, he goes shopping and has buttered scones for tea.
I always like that because it was the bit at the end where all the others in the sort of the Mounties choir all stood there going, "What?"
Oh dear me.
And the thing is, they couldn't have got away with that today.
No, they couldn't. Oh my God.
They wouldn't have got away with it.
That today, you'd be in a lot of trouble for it.
No, you couldn't. No, not at all.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
I'd rather be in trouble, to be honest with you.
But the thing is, it's got to a stage where you can't laugh and joke about anything.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I had it. I did a TikTok video, and it was I can't remember what it was now. It was a song, and all I had to do was by using this app thing that they'd got within TikTok, it turned me into that singer. Only that singer was mixed race. So of course, I posted it on my TikTok. And the first comment I got is that blackface, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm not even going to go down that road. I'm gonna delete the video because I'm not getting any aggro just because I thought we'd have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So I removed it. You know, it's
fun with your friends these days, can't you? You know.
You know, yeah, and it's like you see. I've seen videos, and there's one guy on TikTok. He is absolutely hilarious, and he goes by the name of Frank Sinatra. And
wow.
he does various people. He does Spliff Richard. He does. I think it's Elvis Deadsley. And Frank Sinatra. And when he does Frank Sinatra, it's hilarious because he turned around. One of the jokes he said was when he was coming, he came to the UK, and as he was coming through customs, the bloke turned around and went, "Occupation," and he went, "No, not this time, just visiting." And I'm like, oh my God. This guy, this comedian that does all this, he actually sings the songs as well. So like with Cliff Richard, he sings Cliff Richard songs but changes the words. And he is absolutely hilarious. If you look him up, I dare say he probably is on YouTube.
Yeah.
But the characters he does, they are brilliant, but they are risky. They're risky jokes that he comes out with, but it's set in a comedy, like a comedy theatre. And anybody that goes in there, they're pre-warned that if they're easily offended, then that's the wrong place for them to be. But he just goes and does it. And Tom Jones comes out with a Zimmer frame and all sorts. And he looks the part, and it is so funny. I just couldn't resist, and I had to follow him on TikTok, because it certainly does brighten your day when he comes out with jokes like occupation. Nah, just visiting this time. And instead he's got this little tash, he's got the hair, and it was so fun. He did one, and somebody got upset by it. And they actually left the theatre. And he turned around to people and said, "Hands up if you've been here before." And people started putting their hands up. And he went, "Thanks, I got you." And they're all doing the salute, aren't they? Oh my God. You couldn't write it. It was so funny.
So you've got to be so careful. I mean, even 10 years ago, it could have been a bit more Little Britain. But don't put it on there. Couldn't put that on
couldn't do that now.
No.
And I think the problem is, and I was saying this, I was talking with my mum this morning. The problem is now is you have to be so careful what you say, because you could upset anybody or everybody.
Yeah.
And when you're doing comedy, you've got, even when it's like a comedy TV show or a movie, you have to be careful of the style of joke, the category of joke, who the joke is aimed at. And we've had comedians over here that have turned around and said, I will say jokes about anybody and everybody. And if you don't like it, you're in the wrong place. So, but that's the way society of today now is trying to bubble wrap everything. And you just lose it, like Monty Python. After 3/4 of the jokes on any of the Monty Python films or the series would be banned now if it had been released today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Easily. And it's a shame. Absolutely. Because I think, how are you going to make somebody laugh otherwise if you don't crack a joke about anything?
Exactly.
We've all had a laugh on here tonight, but we've laughed about things from the past.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So we're going to get to a stage where we're not going to have things in the past to laugh about anymore. And we're all going to be boring farts.
People won't lose the sense of humour, see. People lose the sense of humour.
Yep.
I can't live around people who haven't got sense of humour. I need that spark. I've got one, and I use it. And
you've got to have a giggle.
Everything I do, just to get that up a bit, get people happy, pick them up off the floor where they've been depressed, and I get them up here. And when I can, you know what I mean, in themselves way, but that's what I do. I make them feel great, you know. And I do it with not just work, everything. I get people up there, and then sometimes, you're around people who are miserable bastards, right?
Yeah.
Excuse my language. You go home and you're thinking of, why aren't people happy?
Yeah.
But you need a sense of humour. I like happy people.
Yeah, you've got to have a laugh, because life's too short to be miserable and just be too straight-laced and just sort of get on with what you got to get on with and bollocks to everything else.
Yeah.
You've got to have fun while you do it. There's no point. They've always said, haven't they? Laughter is the best medicine. unless you need to go to the doctors, and then, you know, aspirin or something might be the best medicine. But, you know, nothing like a good laugh.
No, that's it.
But there's also nothing like a good scare as well.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, you can't be that again.
we go out investigating. We want to be scared. We wait for that moment where something happens that makes us jump. And for those that don't do things like paranormal investigating, we go to theme parks and we go and scare the living daylights out of ourselves on these 150-foot high roller coasters and stuff like that.
Welcome to your heart attack.
You know. Well, I've been on the Pepsi Max at Blackpool 7 times.
Wow.
And I think that's 128 meters high.
Yeah. I get motion sickness. So I
know. I absolutely love it. Nemesis, I did 9 trips on Nemesis, one after the other.
No.
I literally went on Nemesis at Alton Towers, came off the ride, ran all the way back round again, got back on again. I did that 9 times.
Wow.
My friend only lasted 6 times before he had to run to the bathroom. Just couldn't handle it.
There's a few cringe things out there. They're becoming far more serious than they need to be. No wonder people feel the pressure of life, especially faulty towers.
Oh.
People do pick up on even just single words and take it personal, laughing it off, and that is just so true. That really is.
Yeah, and it's like we say, it's like obviously the issues that we've had on with things that's had with YouTube. You can't mention certain things.
Yeah.
You have to be careful what you say, because you could get a strike or you could have your video removed because you said a word.
Yeah. This is
myself and Mark on the Dark Mirror radio show, we mentioned those that govern our lives.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden our comments got turned off.
No.
So we had to come off the live. We had to come off the live feed, restart it, and then it happened again.
No.
We mentioned a certain word. We mentioned a certain word, and the comments got cut off. So we came out again for a second time, came back in for the third time, and we changed the word to bobberment.
Yes.
Oh,
and that's why when we do the Dark Mirror radio show, we don't say that word. We say bobberment instead. Yeah. It doesn't recognise the word bobberment, so it doesn't flag it, and it doesn't get cancelled as a result.
Brilliant.
So it's probably the biggest issue going is you have to look at what you say, because those that are governing what you do and overlook what you do will look at any excuse to cancel whatever you're doing. Even though you could have said it in a different way. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt the elderberries. You English pig dog. He threw a cow at you.
Oh.
Just realized my mic was muted. I wasn't sure if you. I'm thinking, why aren't they hearing me? I looked back. Oh, wait a second! I actually clicked the mute on my mic. And now go away, or I shall talk to you a second time.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, well,
yeah, we've been on now for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Now.
So, yeah, so I think we're gonna have to call it. But yeah, this has been another great show, guys.
I mean, I've got to go and put my army uniform on and go and do some drill.
Actually, when we get off, I guess Tom and Kate they want to tell us something. So if you guys can just wait in the studio for just like a minute or two, it probably shouldn't take too long.
Just as Tom doesn't tell me to fork off.
Oh, well, it's been great.
we'll have to be quick because I'm in a hurry.
Well, I'll just say, everyone who's tuned in, thanks for hanging out with us. This has been a great show. I'm not sure what we got planned for next Thursday, but wait, hang on a second. Oh, okay. I didn't say I had anything to tell you all. I just looking at Hank for. Oh, I thought he had something he was going to tell you guys. Okay, well, I'll still invite him anyway.
Excited then.
It's been a great show.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Thank you, Bonnie. So, yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll get the message from us what we're going to be talking about for next week. But for everyone that's tuned in, thanks for hanging out.
Well, we do have 2 new Facebook groups. We have the Mystical Carousel Show, and we also now have the Fools and Ghouls Facebook group as well. Yeah. So if you try and look for us on, I think it's down as a private group at the moment, but we'll look at opening it up a bit more. But all our shows and that are going to be posted onto those groups. They're both separate at the moment, and we're all there as admins. So if anybody fancies it, come on over to the actual group and you can watch past shows and relive those crazy moments.
Yeah, it's awesome that we found great pages. So that's fantastic. But until
thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. We'll see you guys next week. So you guys all have a great night.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Microwave.